Hi and welcome back. In this episode we're going to be looking at retopologizing the model that we started sculpting in the last video. What I want to do first is go in and take a look at the curves and the contours that define the edge loops. So I'm going to go into edit mode, object mode rather, and I'm going to open up my side panel and bring up my screencast keys so you can see what's going on. There we go. And then if I scroll up to my grease pencil and click the surface option, I can now draw onto the mesh and help me define my edge loops. So if I just click draw on the panel there. Now if I zoom in, I can start painting in where I want to be applying I've forgotten the word, my mesh. Now I'll start with the eyes, and I want to just define the loops around the eyes in such a way that I can deform them during the animation. Oops. And I want to be able to have the mesh move and be manipulated easily, but I need the edges to flow smoothly in order to do that, so I can't simply just create a mesh and place it over the model because it won't deform correctly. So what I'm doing is I'm just marking out how the lines will work, and this will help me so I don't get lost. And it's just a basic reference for me to work with. I'm just working out the chin. Jawline there. As you can see, it's not brilliant, and there'll be a lot more detail in it as I go along. Like I said, this just gives me a visual reference to see where I'm going. So that looks okay. I can follow that easy enough. I'll delete it now and we'll get in, and I'm going to speed up the video because this takes several hours for me because I'm slow at modelling. And go into it. First thing I want to do is go into object mode and add a plane object. So if I just click add plane and tab into edit mode and move it to the side of the blue Z line and make it faces. Now I want to add a mirror modifier, and I've done it slightly wrong because my origin point is not in the center, so I've just fixed that by pressing Ctrl S, origin to mesh, center. Now I'm just bringing this mesh into the middle. I've got the mirror modifier on and I've got clipping assigned, and now I'm jumping into the user preferences and I'm searching for the F2 button add-on, which will just give me additional options with the fill functions. So now I'm going to try and get in if I turn off clipping in my mirror modifier. I go in and I'm going around the eyes, keeping to the contours of the edge of the eye, and then just extrude out and extrude in, and that gives me the flat of the inner eye and the eyelid. And I'll just going round making the little changes that are needed just to bring the mesh into the right shape. And I'll just pull this little bit up onto the nose, bring it into the center. That's good. Now I'll come round the nose. And I want to keep this fairly close to the actual jaw, but not going right the way around the mouth. That's it, around the front of the chin, and then I'll bring up the side of the face. I'm basically following a pattern that I would use if I was using a 2D photographic reference. It's kind of a workflow I'm used to. You could probably not need to do it in this way, really, for a 2D model, 3D model rather, because we've got snapping to faces applied. The actual vertices are sticking to the model mesh, so I don't need to worry too much about the mesh being in the wrong place. I'm just coming in now, doing the mouth area. I'm doing the corner of the mouth first because that needs some kind of special geometry, because it clenches in. If that makes any sense, it's all compacted in the sides of the mouth, so we're making allowances for that with our mesh. Now I'm just arranging the mesh to come down the lower lips. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do the corner of the top lip. I'm just going to fill that face there and put a diamond. Now bring in the inner parts of the bottom lip. There we go, just fill those. Now using the F2 button, I can simply click the corner vertex of each face and press F, and that just pops a face between the three vertices, which is a lot simpler than selecting every vertex you can and trying to fill a face, extruding individual vertices to create a quad and then fill in the face. It's one of those handy little tools that they've applied to the Blender tool set, and that's called the F2 add-on. I'm just doing that little bit of the face, which is that middle bit's called the filtrum. Just trying to define that, and now I'm going in to do the nostrils. I'm just going to go around the inside of the nostril, create a loop, and create a loop inside, and I've kind of messed it up there because snapping is on and it's snapped everything to the front of the nose, so I just scale it in a bit and push it up. Now I've scaled the outer ring out. Now I can connect that ring together with the lower, I think that's the mastoid muscle. I'm not sure the names, I'm not an anatomist. But it's that part of the mouth that's between the nose. I'm just trying to tidy up here. Snapping wasn't working properly, but I've got it going now. I'm just going to extrude that round the edge of the nose. Make sure all my faces are on the surface. And I can join that up there. And that very quickly has created that nasal passage, just aligning around the bulge of the nasal passage. I'm preparing to come into that crease that joins the cheek to the mouth muscles. Just making everything tidy so I can just press F and fill up that whole line. And now I'm drawing out again and connecting that crease between the cheek and the mouth to the corner of the mouth. And you'll see immediately that we've got more edges than we need, or than we can successfully join up. So I'm going to create down at the bottom, I'm going to create a diamond quad, which is just like that. That just gives me that, it keeps the flow of the quads going, and it actually redirects some of those quads up over the cheek, which isn't ideal, but I'm kind of rushing through this. As you can see, I've created a pole up on the corner of the mouth. That's not too bad. A pole is like 5 points coming out of a single vertex, and you want to try and avoid those as much as possible, but we do get a few in this. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but so long as they're in areas that aren't going to cause problems later, then it's not too bad. See, we've created another diamond. I could probably split that, and no, that would make a mess. Never mind, I'll leave it. Ignore that. Now, as you can see, quite quickly we've already got the basic muzzle shape, and now I'm coming up to join the nose and the eye together. I'm just sliding vertices along so that they join up. And now I'm going to go around the eye and create the forehead. Now make a double loop there and just rearrange the vertices I've made. I've miscounted somehow, because counting up to 5 is kind of tricky when you're working, obviously. I've just put in another loop cut to counteract that lack of vertices, and I'm putting loop cuts in by pressing Ctrl R. Coming round again. This is not quite how my reference was, and it's going to cause us problems later on, as you will see, because if you hadn't already worked out, this is a pre-recorded video. I'm just narrating over the top. Also, I thought it'd be easier with needing a time lapse. This actual whole modelling process took me, what, 2.5 hours for the head, because of things like this going on. Keep making silly little mistakes, which, as you can see here, I've got another pole right on the corner of the eye, and if you remember, the mirror is I just added another one there, which messes everything up, and I've had to put in a knife cut to fix some of the problems. But as you can see, I've got 2 poles right next to each other, which right on the mirror means I'm going to have 4 poles right on that brow, which is garbage. So I'm currently trying to fix that up and eliminate those poles by rearranging the edge loops. I've actually got 4 poles there somehow. I really made a pig's ear of this forehead. But I'm looking like I've got it, and I realise no, not even slightly. It's absolutely garbage. So I'm going to select these vertices and press V to rip them. So we now have a separate gap, and I'm going to take out this diamond and create an extra loop. It's more vertices than we actually need, but I'll fix that up in a minute as well. I'll fix it by pulling these up, making some space, stretch the vertices back so we don't have everything compacted into the same little area, because they really don't need that many vertices. But I still have to fix this corner, so I'm going to try merging here, and that doesn't really work, so I'm splitting the vertices again and deleting some of the faces, so we're just left with that edge, and then I will subdivide it one time and fix it up, and as you can see we've got proper loops going all the way down, and I can carry on with the rest of the face now. I'm just coming back around the eye. I'm going to take those loops that we made earlier and connect them along the cheek like so, and that saves us having to add additional loops down the side of the face. We do have a pole on the cheek, but cheeks they can handle that. It's only the one, so I'm happy with that. So we'll come down to the chin, add a couple of loops in the bottom here so everything matches up nicely, and then I'll use my F key just to rapidly fill all those faces, and I'll pull the mirror in properly, and now I'm just smoothing out the vertices by pressing the W key and selecting the smooth option. And now I've put a subsurf modifier on and I've smoothed it and recalculated the normals. Now I can just come in and fill in these small gaps that have been left, and that's fine. Okay, now I'm just pulling everything back onto the base mesh, so it's all tidy and still fitting in with the contours of the model that we're working to. Just making sure everything's nice around the mouth. Not sure about that little diamond in the corner of his mouth, but we can cope with I think we'll be fine with that. I'll just even everything up a bit and make sure it flows around the nose a bit better, even out the size of the quads. Add in an extra loop just to cheat that a little bit. There we go, that's looking fine, and now I can go around the back of the head to the rest of the skull. I'm just holding down Control and pressing my left mouse button to create those, kind of sketch out those vertices. I find that's probably the easiest way of creating vertices. Just hold Control and press the left mouse and you will grow a vertex from the selected vertex. And now I've extruded out the skull, and I'm just pressing G on the vertices just to snap them to the surface there. I'm just checking my snapping settings. That's it. Press F to fill. Oops. Press F to fill that gap there, and that gets the skull in. There we go. Everything's sticking to the skull nicely. Now I'm just extruding out with the left mouse button and Control, and filling the gaps. I'm going to fill in the ear. I'm not using this ear that we have sculpted onto the side of the head. I'm just using that for a reference point. I tried the grid fill tool there and messed it up abysmally, so I'm manually putting the faces in using the F2 function, selecting that bottom vertex of each quad and filling the grid nicely. There we go. Now I just need to connect this head together by creating a diamond on the corner and dragging out my my edges and smooth out the grid that we just created and snap it back to the surface. Oops. And just snap it back to the surface by pressing G. There we go, that's looking lovely. Exactly what we want. And that's the head almost done. I'm going to select these 6 faces now and inset them with the I key, and then select these parts of the inset and pull them outwards for the ears, and then rotate them around a bit. Now I'm going to just extrude them and scale them in until I have a reasonable ear shape, and just start moving the ear around by selecting the loops, just pulling it into shape. It's a little bit wonky, so I'm going to rotate it around a bit and drag everything into position. And now with my proportional editing, I'm going to just move vertices around to get the shape that I'm looking for. Now I'm hiding the base mesh so I can see what I'm doing with this inner ear. I'll delete these inner faces so I can create the ear cavity where all the sound disappears into your head. Now I'm going to work on the inside of the ear, and this all kind of goes horribly wrong because I want to fill that end into a sort of pointy shape, and I think pulling the inner part of the ear closest to the outer part would work well there, but it doesn't. I just get some horrible geometry on the end, so I'm going to have to delete that. As you can see, it's getting really quite horrible inside there. The mesh geometry is ugly, really. It's not the best. Undo it and run out of undos, so I delete those faces and start again. Try a different technique. Try extruding in. That looks like it's going to give me a better idea, so I'll merge the faces so it's all looking reasonably good, but then I discover that it's not worked again, so I'm going to have to try something different. So I'll manage to fix it by stopping the video and working on it, because it took a heck of a long time. I'll go on to the neck muscles now. I've added in some tendons on the side of the neck that don't actually exist in human creatures. These tendons run to the back shoulders, and we don't really have those, certainly not bulging out in that manner. Well, we do have the tendon at the front that I'm just putting in now. But it's a fantasy creature, and I wanted it to have things that aren't really there in a human. And that was just one of the ways I thought I could add a bit of difference alongside its funky ears and its broad shoulders and things. I think I've succeeded in making it not human enough. Right, I'm going to do the back of the neck now, and we are actually coming to the end of the video. I'm just going to do a little bit of tidying up, and that is pretty much it. That's all the technique that we need, and we will continue using this technique on the rest of the body. And this is pretty much the finished head. I've got all the loops in now, and it's all smooth and looking quite good. And in our next video we'll go into the multi-res sculpting, make it look a lot more realistic and have a lot more fun with it. And it'll certainly be a more interesting video than a time-lapse. This is probably the biggest fail video I've done so far. I hope it's been interesting. It hasn't really been in any way tutorialistic. Is that a word? I haven't really taught you anything. I've just waffled on while I showed you the modelling process. And if we just have a look at the rest of the model, as you can see, I've gone through, done everything. The actual toes are fail, and I haven't done the hands yet. I still need to do those. And one more thing I need to do is the head, which now looks like a pinhead, so I'm going to have to scale that up once I've finished before I go into multi-res sculpting. I'll have to apply the mirror modifier before I do that, because trying to scale things along the mirror axis doesn't work very well, as I'm sure you've found out. But that's it. That's the retopology done. I'll maybe do a proper step-by-step topology thing, but there's one already on CG Cookie by Jonathan Williamson. He does a really good loop topology series. It's well worth watching. I might do one of my own, but you'd have to encourage me a lot because I'm not sure I could do it quite as well as Jonathan Williamson. So yeah, so check that out on the CG Cookie network if you want more information on retopology and loop topology, what's it called, edge loops and things. But from us until next time, that's it, and we hope you are having a go at this model. One thing I will say, once we finish this model, we'll be putting it on Blend Swap for you to download. Once it's finished, I'll put a link in the description, and you can have a look at that, and you'll have it ready for the sculpting. If I'm allowed. Am I allowed to put a base mesh up? I think I am. I think I can put this up on Blend Swap. So yeah, so it'll be up there soon. So in the meantime, subscribe. I'll stop waffling and I'll get on with some serious work, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let us know how you're getting on with these videos. The only way we can improve them is if we get your feedback. We're always happy to hear criticisms. I know they can be occasionally dull at times, but that's just the way it goes. So yeah, leave a comment, let us know how we're getting on, and if you're actually learning anything. Yeah, so I'll see you next time. Have a nice week. Bye for now.